and every day. We're not just a brand. We've set out to create a lifestyle for those who understand that impeccable style and premium performance are a hole-in-one. Enjoy the walk-in with Inward Half.
Hey, Pack Rat. Yeah, you. Are you moving cross-country and you just don't know who to call? Call us right now. Listen, you've probably seen one of our containers in your neighborhood. But did you know that we can help you move anywhere in the United States? It's real simple. We'll drop a container off at the location you tell us to bring it to. You pack up your valuable possessions at your leisure. They stay safe right in your home. And when you're ready, call us. We'll come and pick up the container and give you a scheduled date of when your furniture and the other possessions will be at your new home. So if you're moving across country or across town, be a Pack Rat. Join the Pack Rat family. Call Pack Rat right now for your free quote. See y'all later, Pack Rats.
Call 800-965-1298. 800-965-1298. 800-965-1298. That's 800-965-1298.
It's the Chase! It's the Chase! Live 1 to 3, Monday through Friday on Fan Run Radio, Fox Sports Knoxville. Listen to Chase and his friends on WKGN. It's the Chase! It's the Scruffy City! Listen to his friends, and his friends are on WKGN. I'm always taking your calls on the Tennessee Vols. It's the Chase. It's the Chase. It's the Chase.
It's Chase right here on Fan Run Radio, Fox Sports Knoxville. My name is Chase Thomas, and I appreciate you guys joining us for the start of Week 4, coming into you live from Knoxville, Tennessee, the White Claw Hard Seltzer Studios. Beautiful Monday afternoon right here in East Tennessee, where I am joined, as I am every Monday afternoon during this summer, the heat wave officially here in East Tennessee. Caleb Giroux of the Daily Times. Caleb, good afternoon, my friend. How are you?
Good. How about you? I'm trying to, survive the heat, as everybody is, because we went from comfortable temperatures to a heat index of 100 pretty quickly there. So we got stuck on the golf course yesterday in the heat, and it was brutal.
Who was in the course?
Oh, friends of the program, Ryan Sylvia, Jack Foster, and Ryan Shumpert, and myself.
The Big Four.
Yep, just sweating away, trying to put a little white golf ball in a hole.
Who won?
Oh, definitely Shumpert, I think. It's usually Jack and Shumpert are good, and I'm not good. And then Sylvia falls somewhere in the middle. So, but, all things considered, pretty good day, I would say. Survived the heat.
It's like the Chase Invitational. That's 4 co-hosts.
Yeah, that's all we talk about the whole time is the Chase.
Yeah.
Make it the Chase Invitational.
Goodness gracious. Caleb, always ready to go right at the top of this very program. Make sure you're keeping up with Caleb's awesome coverage over there at the Daily Times each and every day. Tennessee Vols, Maryville Athletics, all that good stuff. And we'll talk to, actually, Anderson County's own Davey Gillum, head football coach there at the top of hour number 2. So make sure you jot that down for hour number 2. We'll have Davey Gillum and the Anderson Mavericks, who they are going to be a really good team once again this year. And now with Alcoa moving up, it's going to be very, very fascinating to see how it all unfolds. So excited to talk to him at the top of hour number 2 as we talk preps every Monday with Caleb on the Chase. Don't forget, folks, you can also call us and join the conversation each and every day, 865-966-3435. So if you want to get involved with the show, you can do so there. You can watch us on the live stream, Fan Run Radio, Fox Sports Knoxville, so you can follow along with us there as well. All kinds of different ways to get involved with the show, but appreciate you guys making the Chase part of your daily listening here on Fan Run Radio, Fox Sports Knoxville. Again, you can reach us or text us at 865-966-3435. Caleb, let's dive into the top of today's show with the Vols. Baseball, huge weekend in the transfer portal. They had 2 big names and 2 guys that they really needed to land after a quiet couple days here for a little bit and seeing the Aiden Robbins of the world commit elsewhere to the Texases and still waiting on the Cal shortstop, what's going to happen there ultimately as he takes his visits. But Henry Ford, the number 1 overall player in this year's transfer portal class, picks the Vols over the weekend. The super talented projected first-round guy out of Virginia, Henry Ford, in the boat. And then teammate of Garrett Wright, DJ Newman, also in the boat. And it's worth noting, versatility continues to be the name of the game, as these guys both can play multiple positions, specifically DJ Newman being someone who could potentially pitch and play in the field for the Vols. But of these two big additions, how important was it for Tennessee baseball to get Ford and Newman in the boat this offseason or this weekend, sir?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head with versatility. I think the big thing about DJ Newman is he can pitch and play the field, and he can swing it pretty well. He hit, had a .495 on base percentage last season and a .645 slugging percentage to go with a .419 average, which was the team best. He only played as a hitter in 25 games, so it's a smaller sample size, but I think he's a guy with that versatility that can definitely help, especially when you consider the fact that you're going to those 35 possibly 35-person roster limit. So Mac, freshman of the year, pitcher of the year in 2023. So I think he's somebody who, wherever Tennessee needs him, he can play. And I wonder how you would balance, almost a Todd Helton type pitching and hitting in the SEC. It's definitely a tougher league. But I think it's big to get a guy with versatility like that. And you mentioned Henry Ford. I worry about him if he even makes it to campus because he is a draft-eligible guy this summer. I think he's in the 70s ranking-wise, depending on where you look. When it comes to the draft. And for people who don't follow the draft, he's got 2 years of college eligibility left. So he has a lot of leverage going into the draft this year and showing, MLB teams that if they draft him and don't give him the money that he wants, he can come back and play for Tennessee. So there's a lot of leverage there that I think he could utilize. But if he does make it to campus, that's a guy who'll be an instant impact, 362 average, 11 bombs last year for Virginia. So both guys, I think, are big pickups. If Henry Ford makes it to campus, he's a versatile guy, utility-wise in the field as well. So you get two guys that can fill a lot of holes, especially, when you look at the big picture, you really don't know what your roster is going to look like yet. So getting guys who aren't pigeonholed to one position is really big at this point. And both of these guys, can fill up a lot of spots, hit the ball well. And for DJ Newman, he throws a lot of strikes. So I think both could be valuable additions.
What I'm wondering about Henry Ford, for the people who are saying, he's just going to be going to the draft, why bother transferring in the first place if he's going to get drafted? Something tells me that I feel like he's going to be staying here.
Yeah, well, once again, if you're an MLB team and you're drafting a guy from Virginia, there's not as much leverage as a guy who just transferred to Tennessee who can tell MLB teams, hey, Tennessee offered me, I have no idea what he's getting paid for the record, but just for example, he can go to an MLB team and say, hey, Tennessee is giving me $500,000. If you don't give me $500,000, I'm not signing. Well, then MLB team's not going to waste that draft pick. So if he's getting drafted high up, they're giving him the number he wants. And once again, even if you don't want to lock yourself into the draft, because crazy things can happen. So it makes sense for him to transfer from Virginia to Tennessee. And, even if he doesn't, a lot of these guys, like last year, there was 2 or 3 guys. The kid from Niagara transferred, but he didn't end up at Tennessee. He went to the draft as well. So I think it's all a leverage game, especially with numbers in the MLB draft. And that's why I think for this guy, Henry Ford, and any guy who has more than 1 year of eligibility left, going to the draft and using your leverage that you have is pretty big. Because next year, he won't have that leverage as much. And then if you run out of eligibility, MLB teams know that you're just going to sign for whatever because you can't go back to college. So I would put it maybe 50-50. Just depends what happens in the draft and where he falls. But if he makes it to campus, like I said, he's a versatile guy who can, really be big. And he's a draft-eligible sophomore as well. So
I also think you got to remember Reggie Crawford's of the world. Like Tennessee has had these kind of big transfer guys where it was still 50-50 whether or not they made it to campus. I'm still a Reggie Crawford just what-if guy. Shout out to Ryan Shumpert, who he's one of those guys. Like I have different Tennessee athletes over the years from the what if. Like I got to bring it back. I'm like, man, I would have loved to see Reggie Crawford at Tennessee for just 1 year. It's kind of like where Drew Pember, if he had gone to Asheville first and then transferred to Tennessee.
The what if for him.
The what if for Pember. He did it backwards. I mean, he obviously was great at the end at Asheville and a big 50-point game and everything, the Beard and local legend. But, man, he would have been so much fun as a stretch 5 for Tennessee if he'd started at Asheville and then made the move over. But all that being said, I think this is a little bit different because, last year was the Wofford kid, right? That was, if I'm not mixing up my dates, he was a big-time summer portal edition, but he didn't make it to campus. Wasn't he a Wofford kid? Do you know who I'm talking about? He was an infielder, but he was another guy. But to me, I just think Ford is the most important of any of these guys who were 50-50 guys making it to campus because Tennessee, there's not a bunch of talent still at the portal. Obviously, he's the number 1 overall player in the portal cycle this year. Tennessee and this lineup needs him. Like, they have a lot of intriguing pieces, and you got some guys who can help you not as stars. Like, I don't think Newman or Wright are going to be linchpin guys in the middle of the order. Tennessee needs their Andrew Fisher, Billy Amick in the middle of this order. Like, I think you can believe that Levi Clark and Manny Marin and Jay Abernathy are going to take steps in Chris Newstrom in year 2, but you can't count on all 4 of those guys being stars in year 2 for you. You need those Andrew Fishers and Billy Amicks in the middle of your order to balance this out. So for me, I think it's especially crucial that Henry Ford makes it to campus for Tennessee. If they want to make it, not even to Omaha, but if they want to win a national title next year, Henry Ford might end up being the difference whether or not you can get there.
Yeah, and I think there's some pull for Henry Ford to end up on campus, too. He graduated from Baylor School where he spent his last 2 years. And he's a 6'5" right-handed hitter, and I think, anytime you can get a guy who's proven himself at the Power 5 level, you're not going to turn that down. And that's why Tennessee has been so successful. You mentioned Billy Amick. Like, he came in and everybody knew what he was. And then he was crucial in a run for a national title. This last year, Andrew Fisher, there was no doubt when Andrew Fisher came in that he was going to be a good hitter. And, shocker to everybody, he was a good hitter. So, I mean, you want to get guys who you can plug in your lineup and know what you're going to get. And that's when you roll the dice with freshmen or even mid-major transfers to an extent. Like these Bowling Green guys, when you look at their tape and you look at their stats, it jumps off the page. But you always have to, wonder when they start facing SEC pitching every weekend, what will that learning curve look like? And you don't know. But when you got a guy who's faced Power 5 pitching day in and day out, like a Henry Ford, you know what you're going to get. He's a first baseman, probably could play right field, maybe some outfield for Tennessee if he makes it to campus. And I think he is a guy you want to make to campus. And that's, once again, I talked about leverage for MLB teams, but I'm sure Tennessee's thinking the same thing. What does Ford need to make it to campus? And I'm sure that goes into the NIL negotiations or rev share negotiations, whatever you want to call it, that these guys are going through right now. But no, you're right. You need guys in your team, especially in the transfer portal era, that you know what you're going to get out of them, and you face teams who have those guys. So if you're going to face other teams that have those guys, you want to have them yourself. And he's 73 overall on the prospect rankings for 2025 in this draft, and that's including high schoolers. So, he's up there, and if a team wants to take a chance, take him high, and pay him what he wants, then I could easily see him going to the draft. And if he, for some reason, falls or, MLB teams aren't sure, then he can come to campus for a year and try again next year. So, like I said, I would say coin flip 50-50, just depends on what happens in the draft.
Yeah, and I think it's fair to just also look at this of, like, if they don't get him in the boat, I just don't think there's another big fish. The portal closes here in a week, a little over a week, but Ford is, if you want to win at all and do what LSU just did and win 2 titles in 3 years, Henry Ford has to be a centerpiece to that. So I just think it's a sneaky important thing for Tennessee to get him on campus next year, because they just don't have anybody else in the boat like that, and they're not in play for anybody else in the boat like what Henry Ford can change in terms of the ceiling. They got a very safe floor under Tony Vitello at Tennessee, and they'll have a safe floor again next year. But I think to get the ceiling where you want it to be as a Tennessee baseball fan, you need Henry Ford on campus. There's not a more important player here this summer to get on campus for next year than Henry Ford. We'll continue the conversation on all things Tennessee recruiting, but we'll switch over to Tennessee Vols football recruiting with their final big OV weekend here in Knoxville with Caleb Giroux of the Daily Times. Stick with us on Fan Run Radio, Fox Sports Knoxville. Download that free Fan Run Radio app and listen along all day long. We're also on 105.7 FM, 1340 AM. It's The Chase with Chase Thomas. Back with more Tennessee talk right after this.
Believe in your fellow man. Believe in honesty and an honest day's work. We do. We're Farm Bureau Insurance. And we don't just believe in Tennessee. We believe in Tennesseans. Farm Bureau Insurance. Tennessee's insurance company.
This is Baseball VFL Cody Brown. Farm Bureau Insurance is the official insurance for Tennesseans. Believe in me for all of your insurance needs. Give me a call at 865-992-3871.
Yee-haw! I've been hooting and hollering ever since I started betting with the VIP Play app. VIP Play has more than 200 leagues, every bet type you can imagine, live betting and live hosts, all with 24/7 support from real live people when you need them. Start betting better with the VIP Play app today.
Don't be a better, be a better with VIP Play today.
Download VIP Play today or head to VIPPlayApp.com. Make sure you use the promo code FANRUN to take advantage of their welcome bonus and so they know that we sent you. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-8899-9789. Must be 21 or older and located in Tennessee to bet.
Airlines have just reduced their prices even more. Book 30 days in advance and save big.
Want the absolute lowest prices on your airline tickets? Then call the Low Cost Airlines Travel Hotline right now for prices so low we can't publish them anywhere. The only way to access our low rates and save up to 70% is to call. Save hundreds on your vacation tickets by calling right now. You can fly anywhere in the world and pay discount prices on your airline tickets. Book a flight today to London, Paris, Madrid, or anywhere else you want to go and pay a lot less guaranteed. Call the International Travel Department right now at Low Cost Airlines.
800-631-1754. 800-631-1754. 800-631-1754. That's 800-631-1754.
Are you looking for a treat that will knock it out of the park at the next watch party? Just like your favorite baseball team, Crumble brings the best lineup week to week with an expanded roster that includes key lime pie, strawberry cake, or my personal favorite, Monster featuring M&M candies. Let Crumble treat you to the best cookies in the game. Download the Crumble app and start earning rewards. You can even vote monthly on what flavors you would like to see at any store of your choice. Warmer weather is here, so get to the ballpark, but don't miss the cookies.
It's The Chase with Chase Thomas right here on Fan Run Sports Radio, Fox Sports Knoxville, 105.7 FM, 1340 AM. You can also listen whenever, wherever on our free Fan Run Radio app. Make sure you download that today in the App Store if you have not already. You can also watch us on YouTube, streaming live all day long on the Fan Run Fox Sports Knoxville YouTube channel. And you can also get in touch with the show at 865-966-3435 if you have some Tennessee baseball, football, anything like that, conversation you want to get going here on The Chase Monday through Friday, 1 to 3. We're always taking your calls right here on The Chase, 865-966-3435. Caleb, final thing on Tennessee baseball before we dive into some Tennessee football recruiting here. Outside of Dylan Loy, because Dylan Loy is the one who you would look to, the 13 transfer portal departures thus far for Tennessee baseball, who would stand to have the most important impact on the 26 Vols. But I ask you, outside of Loy, which Vol in the portal right now do you think could have been a nice help to Tennessee in 2026?
Yeah, Loy is definitely the easy answer, but I would have to go another lefty with Andrew Binky, just for the simple fact that he has played in big games, and you've seen him perform against SEC competition and good competition. I think this past year wasn't the best for him, but he was also hurt coming into the season and kind of the early part of the year. I think he was dealing with a back injury. So I think definitely in the portal right now would be Binky would be the guy you'd want back, because I think losing, especially when you lose Loy, having another lefty like Binky who can maybe slot into that Loy spot would definitely be a good choice. And just when you look at the staff as a whole, I think lefties are at a premium, and any kind of setup pitcher is at a premium. A guy who can come in who, like a Dylan Loy role this year, a guy you bring in and say, hey, we've got back-to-back lefties in the lineup here. We really need you to get us, 2 outs. I think having that is key. And then another guy I'd look at is Austin Breedlove coming out of Cleveland State. His fastball really jumps, and he's a guy that has big league potential, who's probably going to look to get drafted. And I think he's a guy you wish you would have for next season as well. So I think just those two as a whole. And I think, obviously, hindsight's 20/20, but looking at the pitching staff right now, I just think arms in general that have proven themselves would be pretty big for this group. And we mentioned the transfer portal. You want arms who can, you got to score runs to win, obviously. So bats are big. But if you're giving up 10 runs a game or you don't have a consistent pitching staff, I think then it gets a lot harder to win baseball games.
For sure. And I would probably say Breedlove even more than Binky, because Binky had a rough year. I know we thought Binky was going to be a more high leverage guy than what we saw, and he could have obviously bounced back in 26. But Breedlove impressed me, and I just wouldn't be surprised, even though he's another righty and Tennessee kind of you really need some lefties now in 2026. I think Breedlove would have helped you. If Breedlove was around for 26, I think he showed enough where I would not be surprised if he was one of Frank's guys that he counted on in the bullpen, maybe even as a closer next year.
Yeah, and I think he's just a guy that kind of buys in, out of Cleveland State, he's a JUCO guy that you had a 5-pitch mix in JUCO and a 1.62 ERA through 39 innings when he was at Cleveland State as their main guy his sophomore year. Gave them a run. I think it finished runner-up his sophomore year in the Tennessee JUCO scene, which obviously when you're having to play Walters, runner-up is basically, hoist the trophy, hang the banner. But he had a 5-pitch mix and was sitting around 93 at Cleveland State. So obviously coming in this past year, kind of getting his feet wet. You're right. Imagine him next year after another year in a strength program and kind of getting those pitches down. Because you mentioned he could be a closer. He could also, fight to be a starter. He was a starter at Cleveland State. When you have 5 pitches in college too, if you can throw at least 4 of the 5 for strikes, then I think you can compete at a high level, especially in the SEC. So, and I always have a soft spot for JUCO guys because I know JUCO's watered down at this point, but it's still like you really have to compete and kind of grind for everything you want at the junior college level. And he's a guy I think that could have competed and could have helped out this Tennessee pitching staff, whether bullpen or starter. So once again, though, I think he's a guy that the draft was always going to be a question for him this year as well, because he's somebody who has those MLB aspirations. And I mentioned it before, like if you can get out and get drafted your junior year, you want to do it.
That's fair. It's also interesting. Tennessee went very JUCO heavy last year in their transfer portal class. Only 2 JUCO guys right now in their current class. So I wonder if they kind of pivoted back to more non-JUCO players in this year's transfer portal market, or it was just, hey, who was available and who wasn't in the JUCO ranks and that sort of thing. So we'll continue to monitor that on the Tennessee baseball front as the summer moves along and Tennessee continues to add and also lose some guys as they have to get to that 34-ish number sooner rather than later for 2026. So continuing on with our Vols recruiting part of things here, Caleb, let's go to football because football recruiting is in a really, really interesting spot right now because Tennessee right now, they only have 9 current commits in the 2026 class. Some big namers. They have 2 5-stars in Gabriel Ascenda, the offensive tackle from Baylor, and then the quarterback, obviously, Faison Brandon, who lit it up at the Elite 11s this week and was back on campus this weekend helping recruit again for Tennessee as they had a bunch of heavy hitter blue chip players in this weekend. But for you, of the list who came in, who for you that you thought was the most interesting for Tennessee and that you think is the most interesting guy that Tennessee might add to their class over the next couple of weeks? Because this is going to happen in a hurry. Like, you're going to start seeing names really jump in the boat over the next month.
And we start the recruiting dead period either yesterday evening or this
Sunday,
evening, right? Yeah, so it's definitely going to start heating up here soon now that guys are mulling over decisions. But I think Savion Hitter is probably the guy for me that I circle just because he's the number 1 running back in this class. And, we talked about, I think, last week how the defensive staff has kind of raised their stock by getting guys like Jermod McCoy and Ricky Gibson, get them in the program and then improving and, gaining a lot of National Football League attention. I think that's kind of the same thing here where Darrell Sims and just this offense as a whole has kind of shown that they take running backs in, like a Dylan Sampson or Jalen Wright, and turn them into NFL guys. Obviously, Jerry Mack played a role in that as well, but I think the offensive staff as a whole kind of turns guys into NFL running backs. I think that can help Tennessee here as they're in a competition for the 5-star out of Virginia, Savion Hitter. Some other schools there, Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan. I think Tennessee is well in the running. They got the last official visit, obviously, this past weekend. I don't know how much stock you put into that, but that's the guy I circle just because I think he's somebody, anytime you bring in a 5-star running back or a 5-star guy at a skill position, they can kind of impact instantly. And so I think that would be huge for Tennessee to get him in and obviously get him in the boat. And then you bring in a 5-star quarterback and a 5-star running back in the same class, and, man, that future on the offensive side all of a sudden looks very bright.
Yeah, I think the Hyder stuff is super fascinating to me because, like you said, he's the number 1 overall recruit in the 2026 class at running back. It's interesting to me because we still just don't know if Darrell Sims last year was an anomaly with Dylan Sampson being a bell cow back and not rotating as much, and Deshaun Bishop kind of factoring in when he was healthy a little bit, Peyton Lewis only getting in there a little bit. Was that by design, or does he want to rotate at an elite level and kind of get back to what Tennessee was doing with Jalen Wright, Jabari Small, and Dylan Sampson a couple of years ago? We don't know. I think this year will be the telltale sign of how Darrell Sims looks at rotation in the running back room. But I also just wonder if you've averaged 5 yards per carry regardless of who's been back there for Tennessee the last 4 years, is it really the best way to go about it to go all in on a player like Hyder and mess kind of because we don't know, because it's not like the NFL. We don't know how much guys are making. We don't know how much of the salary cap is tied up to certain positions, that sort of thing. But for me, I think it's odd to go all in on Hyder when you just have shown that you've not had to do that. You can make it work with 3- and 4-star guys, and you're going to be able to win at a high level. The best version of Tennessee football to this point was when you were number 1 in passing in the country. You were the number 1 scoring team in 2022, and that was your worst season running the football nationally. I think they were 26th in yards per game on the ground. So for me, I don't know. If you're trying to get back to that magic of 22, even though you've won 19 games the last 2 years, I do kind of wonder. I mean, it is a 5-star. He is a big-time guy, so you just take him if he wants to jump in the boat. But to me, I don't know. Tristan Keys makes more sense to me as the 5-star flip candidate who was in last weekend at LSU. I would even say still, though, it's the trenches for me. And, I mean, Tristan Gibbons is off the board, who was here last weekend. He ends up at Texas A&M, 5-star edge out of Carver down there in Georgia. So that's a guy off the board. You're trying to flip Hezekiah Harris, 4-star top 100 player from Auburn. He was here this weekend. You already have Zach Groves in the boat. We'll see if he's Leo. Joel Wyatt still down to Vanderbilt and Tennessee. We'll see what happens there over the next couple weeks. He could be an edge option too. I don't know. I think Tennessee, it's not a position to worry about for me, but I do think they've brought in so many different edge guys over the last couple weeks, and they still kind of need a big name, and they've recruited so well there and developed so well there that I'm very curious who the big name is that they land off the edge, because I don't think it's Groves. I think Groves is a good player, but I don't think he has the same upside as Gibbons, Harris, or Wyatt at that edge spot, but we shall see. And the other one to me, Caleb, that I think is really fascinating is this is a 2-guy thing. It's Carson Snead and Craig Tutt. Carson Snead, 4-star tight end who's been committed to Tennessee for a long time, taking his visits. His brother, Drayton, Tennessee walk-on receiver, he's now at UNC. That seems like a possibility potentially for Snead. Is he someone who he was at Florida for an OV last week. He's been at Ole Miss too, I believe. So he's someone that still looked around even as a long-time commit, Tennessee local kid. And then Craig Tutt, another kid who his teammate just committed to Tennessee. He's going into his freshman year from Murfreesboro. DeJuan Morris, the 3-star tailback, late addition, and a late flip from USC for Morris. I think Tennessee kind of quietly needs to land both these guys. It's not the flashiest. It's not going to grab the headlines like Hyder or Keys. But, man, they really need to close on Craig Tutt, 4-star safety out of Oakland. Super talented kid. You haven't landed a 4-star safety out of high school and the Tim Banks era. I think you kind of need to do this. Shady Hayward flipped the very end, who was a longtime 4-star commit for Tennessee out of Toombs County in Georgia. He ends up at Florida at the last minute. You just got to get somebody back there because they're kind of thin at that spot, and I think you really need – I like Thompson and McLean as developmental guys in this class, but you really need Craig Tutt to close the deal there. And they don't have another tight end in this class. Like last year it was Deshaun Brame and Jack Van Dorselaer. This year they don't have anybody outside of Snead, and it's so late in the game. Like their earlier target from a couple months ago, Moose Ludwig, he's at Michigan. He committed there in May. I don't know. They don't have a lot of options at tight end if Snead doesn't end up in this class. So for me, those two are the most important guys to me that they really, I hope, close with over the next couple of weeks, because I think this class needs them both to stay in it.
I hate to rain on your parade, Chase. I know how big you were on Tristan Gibbons, but he committed to A&M yesterday.
No, I said that.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Oh, I missed that part. Well,
yeah,
that makes the edges a little more
a
little dicey. But I don't know. I'm not as high on Carson Snead, I don't think, just because you have good tight ends on your team right now. And I don't think you should – if this was – obviously this is all hypothetical, but you're like Snead or somebody else money-wise, it's just, a 4-star from Tennessee who plays private school football. It just does – and he's not been – taking the visits while you're committed I know is a more recent thing. That wasn't very big, prior to probably after 2020, but just – it doesn't really bode well, I think, when you have a guy who's visiting everywhere while committed and then he gets to campus, because I feel like just those guys are the quickest to jump out of the boat, Chase. If something goes wrong or if he's not promised playing time early, he could easily just transfer at the snap of a finger because he has visited all around and knows all these coaches. So that always worries me when you see a guy visiting like that. But again, he was on campus this past weekend. It's the dead period now, so he'll obviously mull it over. But I feel like Tennessee's still in a good position there. I think he'll be all right as an in-state guy. I think the biggest thing for both Tut and Snead is obviously, yes, talent. If Tennessee wants to win a national championship in football, it won't be done just on recruiting guys from the state of Tennessee. Yeah. I think you're still going to need guys from Georgia, still going to need guys from Alabama. They've had success with guys from North Carolina. You're going to have
Virginia too.
Yep, you're going to have to spread out your footprint. But I think you need to get the guys you want from the state of Tennessee, and both these guys Tennessee obviously wants, and I think they need to get, just for the sake of maintaining connections in the state of Tennessee and showing that they have a lockdown on the state of Tennessee, so that way you can complement these in-state guys with, the top players from out of state. Tut is an interesting guy for me, 6A football, it's a little different, and once again, still the state of Tennessee. I haven't gotten to see his tape as much, but he talked highly about Tennessee after this visit, and I know he's been to Auburn and Ole Miss in recent weeks, which kind of tells me, Ole Miss will definitely, just from the way they've attacked the portal, if they want him, they'll drop a bag. So just Tennessee has to, compete monetarily there, and I think they're in a good position for him as well coming out of the visit. But like I said, if Tennessee wants in-state guys, they need to be able to compete and land those guys. And I think right now it's just a matter of time for these two, because here in the next couple of weeks, I feel like you mentioned, this class will iron itself out a lot more.
I guess for me, it's because, like you said, we're going into the dead period now. And Snead's your only tight end in the boat, and if he doesn't end up in your class and he ends up at Ole Miss, Florida, or North Carolina, I just don't know where you go. And look, you're kind of stuck there for a little bit, but if Ethan Davis has a breakout year, you're not sure he's back, and he might go NFL. Who knows? If Ethan Davis has all the potential in the world, you're going to be gone. Miles Kitselman will be gone. Cole Harrison, big year for him, 3-star who was a late addition to last year's class, or 2 years ago's class. Can he help you? We'll see where he is in his development this year. But then you're going into two true sophomores, and Desan Brame and Jack Van Dorselaer in 2026. I don't know. You just need kind of Snead in this class, not to rhyme here, but you do need Snead in this class, because I don't know where you go this fall, because the timing is not great. And a lot of your big-time targets are kind of off the board there. You've had Snead committed for a long time, and I think he projects as a pretty interesting tight end for Tennessee if you can get him here. But I don't know, because Tennessee uses tight ends so much, and they're starting to go more and more 12 personnel, like we saw last year. You're going to need bodies there. And for me, Tennessee at least has a backup plan, or even not even backup. It's just like another good option in Jal Kumbe, who is the teammate of Braden Roos, the 4-star top 100 linebacker who was here along with his teammate at Kell back in Georgia. He seemed like that was a good visit for him, and I have a hard time believing Tennessee doesn't end up landing one of those two, whether it's Tut or Kumbe at that safety spot, and then you have 3 in the boat. Tight end, they don't have that clear next guy up. So for me, I think you really, really need to make sure it's Snead and get that one across the finish line, because you need to keep stacking those bodies at that tight end spot, because it's growing of more importance every year in Heupel's scheme and his continued use of 12 personnel. So we'll continue the conversation coming out of this break, but stick with us. We'll talk some Coastal Carolina, LSU College World Series final, and what happened there. LSU went in 2 of 3, and if Tennessee or LSU is the best program in college baseball right now, it's an interesting discussion point for both sides. So we'll continue on here in hour number 1 with the Daily Times' Caleb Giroux. Stick with us. It's Fan Run Radio, Fox Sports Knoxville, 105.7 FM, 1340 AM. We'll be back with more right after this.
Hey Knoxville! Surfside iced tea and vodka, made with real brewed tea, is only 100 calories, 2 grams of sugar, with no bubbles and no troubles. That's right, 0 carbonation, so it's easy to sip and enjoy. Headed to a game day or party at a friend's house? Bring an iced tea or lemonade variety pack from Surfside, or try their green tea and new raspberry tea vodka. Find the can with the sunset stripes this season. Surfside iced tea and vodka, sold at bars, restaurants, and stores near you. Surfside iced tea and vodka, sunshine in a can. Must be 21 or older. Enjoy responsibly.
Life is more fun with a Good Life checking account from Citizens National Bank, offering extra benefits including bank travel. Experience the magic of the holiday season with a festive getaway to Charleston and Savannah. From twinkling lights to charming carriage rides, this trip immerses you in Southern holiday traditions. Join them by calling 865-429-7935.
Citizens National Bank. Banking never felt so good.
Member FDIC.
Rickard Ridge Barbecue, located in beautiful Cove Lake State Park. Rickard Ridge is home of the best ribs in the volunteer state. Smoked daily by Pitmaster Mark Rickard. The barbecue at Rickard Ridge is mouth-watering, fall-off-the-bone delicious. Take the scenic drive up I-75 to exit 134. For directions and to look at the rest of the menu, visit Rickard Ridge online at rickardridgebbq.com.
A brand built in Tennessee and born from the love of the game. Inward Half revolutionizes golfing comfort. Crafted by a former pro and dedicated enthusiast just like you, our luxury performance wear guarantees you stay cool and comfortable through every swing and every day. We're not just a brand. We've set out to create a lifestyle for those who understand that impeccable style and premium performance are a hole-in-one. Enjoy the walk-in with Inward Half.
Located in Knoxville's historic Old City, Barley's offers great food, live music, the best draft beer selection in town, and now your new favorite place to watch sports. Their indoor projector is perfect for any weather, and they've revamped their upstairs area with more TVs to take in all of the action. Their menu features hand-battered chicken tenders, juicy burgers, fresh salads, and the tastiest pizza in Knoxville. You can enjoy their happy hour drink specials daily from open until 6 p.m. Barley's Tap Room and Pizzeria.
Is your smile ready for the spotlight? Hi, I'm Dr. Jacob Wilco, and at Knoxville Smiles, we make every visit a reason to smile. From routine cleanings to dazzling cosmetic treatments, our experienced team uses the latest technology to keep your teeth healthy and your smile bright. With a warm, welcoming atmosphere and personalized care, we're here to make sure you leave feeling your best. Don't wait. Your perfect smile is just a call away. Book your appointment today at 865-539-1776 or online at knoxvillesmiles.com. Smile brighter with Knoxville Smiles.
It's the Chase right here on Fan Run Radio, Fox Sports Knoxville. My name is Chase Thomas, joined as always on a Monday by the Daily Times' Caleb Jarreau as we continue on our Monday edition here on the Chase 1 to 3, Monday through Friday, right here on Fox Sports Knoxville, Fan Run Radio. Caleb, as we continue on our hour number one conversation here, we crowned a new college baseball, men's college baseball national champion yesterday afternoon in Omaha. There was a lot of controversy out of the gate with the Coastal Carolina head coach getting tossed in the first inning, and we can dive into what happened there and who the ump responsible, who was, I think, kicked out or demoted from Major League Baseball. He was a Major League Baseball ump, and then he is no longer a Major League Baseball ump, I believe. And
Was that the one who flopped? No, he was the guy who tossed him.
Yes,
yeah.
Angel. What is his last name? Campos. And so I want to get your perspective on that. As you're decked out in the College World Series polo right here, Caleb. So it's a big College World Series day. But what did you make of Coastal's coach getting tossed in that moment? And the LSU side of things, now that they've won it all, did you feel like they were the best team? The best team won the College World Series this year?
Yeah, I'll start with the umpire stuff because that definitely stole the show on the game. That ended up being not really an interesting game. It felt very routine when it felt like there wasn't much that happened. Umpire-wise, though, I think, first off, I'm glad that Coastal Carolina's head coach, Kevin Schnall, came out and told his side of the story, because it feels like coaches are always scared to talk about umpires and referees. And for him, he didn't really have anything to lose because the season was over. But, I mean, in the championship game, you surely have to have more leeway than what Angel Campos gave him. And I saw so many tweets where it's like you shouldn't know the umpire's name, and you almost know the name of everybody on that crew from some point this season. Campos was the same guy who threw at Cam Carinella when Tennessee was at Clemson 2 years ago. He had a run-in with Tony Vitello when I think it was Vanderbilt was here, which is the only reason I know who he is, because me and friend of the show Ryan Sylvia looked up his account and realized he was a former Major League Baseball umpire who was not graded very well, and I don't know very many umpires who choose to leave the professional ranks to go to college. So obviously there's a reason for that, yet he was on the biggest stage behind home plate. And I think Schnall, once again, I don't think he should have got tossed, especially in the first inning, but I also think there is some blame on Coastal Carolina's head coach because you're arguing balls and strikes in the top of the first inning of Game 2 of the College World Series, which is already high stress. So I think he's not blameless, but I also think you have to have a lot of leeway as an umpire there to A, not make it about yourself, and B, just kind of let the guy say his piece and go on, because he felt offended because he was shooting. And again, it's a first-year head coach, but he was an assistant forever. So I think there's blame to go all around, but at the end of the day, you should not toss a head coach in the championship game, especially in a game of that magnitude. And then turn around and run his assistant too. And then you've got an umpire who flops and hands him a 2-game suspension and just a bunch of nonsense that really, it was going to be a great day for college baseball and the NCAA, and its umpires just couldn't help but, put an asterisk on it and make the conversation. We should be talking about the game right now, but we're talking about umpires on a Monday.
Asterisk's a little strong. Are we still going asterisk?
No, I mean, LSU won the series fair and square and probably would have won Game 3 if it went to that. But I'm saying asterisk on nobody's talking about Anthony Ianson and how well he pitched, or nobody's talking about Jared Jones coming through in the series. We're talking about the umpires because that was the story of the day.
It doesn't help that the robots are coming. This does not help let's expedite the robots here in college and professional baseball, because I saw this guy tweet, Bill Wilder on Twitter, I think. He was responding to Peter Burns' tweet about this. He said Angel Campos was let go by MLB. He had more ejections in his last year than any other. That speaks volumes in a profession where experience should gain you more respect. So it was just one of those things where Coach Nall, he also talked about his ejection, where Aaron Fitt of D1 Baseball tweeted out, Schnall says the umpire who came running in and tripped over Angel Campos' foot was embarrassed and immediately stood up and held up 2 fingers to suspend him for bumping an umpire because he was embarrassed. I shouldn't be responsible for a grown man's lack of athleticism. Fired up, man, Coach Nall on that one. But I don't know, it just kind of stunk, and it kind of felt kind of crazy because I did not think this was going to go 2 games with these two. And obviously, the last time Coastal got to that point, they won it all in 2016, and it's kind of a sad story and a sad whimper the way it all went out, because even if Coastal wins that game, guess what? Their coach, Coach Nall, is not there for the Monday game either.
He umpired 585 MLB games in his career, seven seasons, and he ejected 23 people. That's insane. And this is the first time a coach has ever been ejected in the first inning of the College World Series. It's the first time 2 coaches have ever been ejected in a College World Series game. And we're talking from 1951 on to today. This has never happened. And it happened yesterday. And once again, like I said, Kevin Schnall came out and he told the umpire he missed 3, threw up to 3, and that got him tossed. Should he have done that? Probably not. Should he have gotten tossed in that situation? You have to have some feel. If you're humans at the end of the day. You have to have some feel. What does the umpire get for running him there besides everybody is looking at him and watching him? I just don't get it, man. These guys, they get the best games of the year. Jeff Head's crew had Saturday's game, and sure, there were some questionable calls and a hit by pitch overturned, but nothing that either coach was very adamant about like this. I don't think you should argue balls and strikes in the first inning, but I also don't think you should run the coach in the first inning either. So all around, just a insane situation. And, you would hope that the NCAA does something, but I wouldn't be surprised if in 365 days that same crew has game 2. Because these aren't new things. It happens week in, week out. 2 years ago, like I mentioned, Clemson threw out their best player. These aren't new, and I didn't even see the pitches if they were balls or strikes, but still, it doesn't make sense, because in an age where you can review things and have all of these, tools at your disposal, there's no reason that this stuff should happen. And I've saw some conversation too about these umpires aren't really equipped to diffuse situations, because there's a warning system. Yeah, he warned him. You can confine him to the dugout and all this stuff. There's no reason it should get so quick that you run him in the first inning, and made it about himself. So once again, we shouldn't be surprised to see this. You look at college baseball umpires, and they are, pretty poor week in and week out. Usually, like the crew who does the SEC championship is usually a standout crew. But some of the games during the weekends, man, the zones are all over the place. And it's very common, too, in this league that you see both coaches upset with the umpires, which how you do that is beyond me.
So did you know he was also the guy who threw out Cam Canarella in that Tennessee Clemson
that's
series?
what I said. He threw out their best player in the Clemson series for, I don't even remember that. It wasn't anything egregious.
Yeah, because it's...
And then you go back to Cannon Peebles, got tossed a couple weekends ago, once again, for nothing egregious, but just running guys out of games because they can. It's a power trip. And,
I think you and I,
should go to
unbiased, we can agree that Cam had it coming in 2023. We can agree that Tennessee benefited from that, and it was rightfully so. Angel did great work there for Tennessee baseball in that spot in the regional. We can all agree.
He does draw a lot of ire for consistently helping SEC teams with his ejections. But, man, it's just you make it about yourself and you kind of ruin the result on the field. And like I said, they should do something about it, maybe lower him, give him less games, not as high-profile games, stick him on midweeks or, do something like that. But, like I said, in 365 days, I would not be surprised if he suited up behind home plate.
When you look at the College World Series, the two games by themselves, though, when you take out all the craziness in that first inning, Caleb, where does this rank in recent College World Series for you? Was this still a pretty good two games? Was it still pretty fun for you to watch as a college baseball superfan? Like, what did you make of the series as a whole?
Yeah, I think it was a good two games. I think you got, like I said, Sundays was kind of a letdown just because you had the ejection in the first inning, and it felt really routine. Like, Coastal saw their head coach get run, and that's obviously, a damper on the energy. And then you pull Jacob Morrison, who's been your guy all year, and it just felt like the energy kind of left that game, and LSU was kind of able to coast. But that Saturday game was electric when you look at Cade Anderson going a complete game against Coastal for a 1-0 win. That really embodies what LSU's team was this year. I know you asked me if I thought the best team in college baseball won the championship. I don't think so, but I don't think very often the best teams in college baseball win, i.e. Tennessee Baseball 2022. That's just not how the sport works. But I think that Saturday win embodied what that LSU team was, which was strong pitching, an airtight infield, and just enough offense to get you across the edge. I think 2023 LSU was a lot better than this team, and this team was not known for their offense. And I was actually talking to the friends of the show yesterday about it. The way this lineup was set up for LSU really lacked an identity, because you had guys like Jared Jones who could really hit the ball everywhere and hit it out of the yard, mixed with guys like Chris Stansfield or Stephen Milam, who are really contact guys and just pepper the gaps. And then you had a guy like Michael Braswell, who hadn't gotten a hit since mid-May. And it was just, he's in the game because they need defense, and they really valued pitching, and they really valued defense. And I think that Saturday game kind of embodied just how good they were. And then you look at Sunday as well. They won the championship series with 3 pitchers, which is insane to think about, and all 3 are going to be big leaguers next year. So I think it's more of a throwback style of baseball, maybe a little boring. But that's what the series was, and that's kind of what that LSU team was this year.
Yeah, and I think, like what you said, it's very rare that Tennessee, who was the best team all last season, ends up winning it all. And like you said, the 22 year, I mean, you can make the case that 22 team is still the best college baseball team of this century, and they don't even get out of the Super. So by and large, it's not. I mean, Arkansas went in as the betting favorite, and they obviously still don't get their first national title. But yeah, I don't know. I do think LSU was one of at worst, one of the 3 best teams in college baseball this year. And it's just kind of interesting to me because I just feel like there weren't a lot of big names for LSU. Like, obviously a lot of good players. Am I crazy for just being like, didn't feel like a bunch of star power for LSU?
Yeah, and that's what I was mentioning, just like it was a team that played really good fundamental baseball.
Yeah.
They got guys on base and they bunted them over and put the ball in the ground, and that's how guys scored. And anytime a ground ball was hit to the infield, you knew either a double play was turning or is it going to be fielded cleanly.
I feel like there was some star power for LSU. I mean, Cade Anderson, Jared Jones, Derek Curriell is going to be pretty good. Year 2 for now.
I think
has some stars.
The team has a lot of draft picks coming off. I don't think they have a lot of big leaguers. I think Cade Anderson's a big leaguer, and he was your star guy. Jared Jones played horrific down the stretch. He did not play his best baseball, and you saw that throughout the College World Series. If you followed LSU, he had a brutal error in the infield where he just whiffed on a double play ball.
Are you talking about the Arkansas game?
Yeah, and gave Arkansas a chance to win that game, but he comes back and hits a home run. Yeah. So, I think he's a guy who can probably find success in the bigs. He's got 2 rings now. But yeah, Derek Curriell is another guy as a freshman who really kind of came out and showcased what he can be for LSU here in the future. But no, I'm with you, Chase. I lean more towards they didn't have as much star power as maybe Tennessee last year.
Not as much as Tennessee
or LSU 2023. Just because, like I said, I think they have a lot of draft picks. I don't know how many guys will actually make it to the majors off this team. It was a good fundamental baseball team, and when you look at their lineup, top to bottom, it's a lot of guys who do their jobs well, which you don't see a lot in college baseball. And I think that's what may have hurt Tennessee down the stretch this season is, LSU was not they didn't have guys that were worried about hitting the ball 500 feet every at bat. Like, they knew their role. Another thing I really like about Jay Johnson is he plays that West Coast style of baseball where we get 2 strikes, we're choking up, and we're not going to strike out. And you're going to put the ball in play. And when you get to Omaha and you put the ball in play, that's a big park with a lot of foul ground that can buy you, some leeway. And also the gaps are massive. So you put a ball in the outfield, the guys have to play back, and the outfield is massive as well. And weird things happen when you put the ball in play. So I think if any high school players or little league players were watching that, it's a good lesson of, you do your job and you can win championships. And then, you look back to Tennessee last year and they just hit the ball out and just overpowered you, and you can win championships that way as well. So
your gut feeling, the best program in college baseball right now is LSU or is it Tennessee? Does Tennessee have a case going to 5 straight supers and their entire body of work from 2021 on to say that they are still the premier number 1 overall baseball program, or does LSU have more juice with 2 titles in 3 years?
I would definitely lean LSU because they have 2 titles in 3 years, because you don't hang banners for going to 5 straight super regionals.
Yeah.
I get the Tennessee argument because they are, LSU and Tennessee are like 1A, 1B right now. But I think when you put LSU's 2 titles in the last 3 years up, it's hard to argue any team against that. And Ryan McGee, Tennessee alum, wrote a column this morning for ESPN that said LSU is now the premier program ever in college baseball because they're second to USC only in titles, and USC's last title came in the 90s. So
I think 2023, when they won in 2023, I think that made them the best college baseball program of all time. I really do. Because, USC has done almost nothing since the year 2000. Like, they made it to 1 College World Series. They haven't made it to a super regional in 2005. I just feel like LSU's taken over college baseball.
That's a fair argument as well, and I think this year made it not a fluke.
Yeah.
Because you take out any argument that, LSU wasn't around to stay. And, they're going to host a ton of portal guys this weekend and just try to rebuild for next year, but they've done it, like I mentioned, in 2023. Dylan Cruz, Paul Skeens, Trey Morgan, ton of star power on that team. They won it that way, and they won it this year. In a year where you didn't really have a team that stood atop everybody else, it's probably the best test of your program where there's no superstar teams, and you still come out of the mud and win that championship and push through. And the only team they lost to in the postseason was Little Rock. So
that's crazy.
They went 2-0 against Arkansas and went 2-1, 1-1 against Arkansas Little Rock. So that's the only team they lost to. They went undefeated in the College World Series. And program-wise, they only have 1 loss ever when making it to the College World Series finals, and it was to Florida in the championship when Florida won their first championship. So, LSU is not first in wins in Omaha. They don't have the most trips to Omaha. They're second in championships. But when you look at what they've done from when Skip Bertman took that program over in the 80s to now, I think the body of work, you can make an argument. Like Ryan McGee said, they're the best baseball program ever. And I think it's hard to argue at 2 titles in 3 years that they're the best baseball program right now.
I think what's funny, too, is before Skip Bertman came in, they did nothing on baseball. Like, you look like before the mid-'80s, they only had 2 tournament appearances all time. But, ever since then, they've basically run college baseball since, the early 90s.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see where that goes. But ultimately, I don't know. I think it's an interesting conversation, at least from 21 on. Yeah, I think it's an interesting debate to have, and I think it's a big year in 26 for Tennessee baseball and see how they respond to LSU. Do we keep just going back and forth? That'd be fun, like Tennessee and
keep
LSU.
the SEC streak rolling.
Yeah, keep the SEC streak rolling. Just got to get Henry Ford to campus, and then we'll figure it out from there. We'll continue on here at hour number 2, where Davey Gillum, head football coach of Anderson County, will join the show to talk all things Anderson County Mavericks ahead of what should be another big-time season for the Mavericks, and we'll pick his brain on what to expect from his team in 2025. So stick with us right here on The Chase. It's Fan Run Radio, Fox Sports Knoxville, 105.7 FM, 1340 AM, and also listening wherever, whenever on the free Fan Run Radio app. Download it today. We'll be right back with Davey Gillum. Stick with us.
Citizens National Bank. You want a bank that lets you bank when and where you want to. Your local branch, the grocery store, your computer, your phone, it's up to you. You want people who care about taking care of you and your money too. Citizens National Bank. Banking never felt so good.
Ready to launch your career? Axel Logistics is a leading third-party logistics company where excellence is an energy. With an award-winning culture, Axel proves that positive outcomes come from a positive environment and a work hard, play hard mentality. At Axel, the drive for success is infectious. And with an uncapped commission structure, hard work isn't just noticed, it's rewarded. For those with big goals and even bigger dreams, Axel Logistics is the place to start your career.
Are you looking for a treat that will knock it out of the park at the next watch party? Just like your favorite baseball team, Crumble brings the best lineup week to week with an expanded roster that includes key lime pie, strawberry cake, or my personal favorite, Monster featuring M&M candies. Let Crumble treat you to the best cookies in the game. Download the Crumble app and start earning rewards. You can even vote monthly on what flavors you would like to see at any store of your choice. Warmer weather is here, so get to the ballpark, but don't miss the cookies.
You're listening to FM 105.7 and AM 1340, WKGN Knoxville, and W289CU Knoxville, Fan Run Radio.
We really need to get some branded stuff. Shirts, hats, promo items, something professional.
I mean, we could just find a website and order a bunch of it ourselves.
You could, but you're taking a big risk. You don't know the quality, the fit, the timeline. It's a roll of the dice.
Yeah, I guess, but isn't that how everyone does it now?
Not the ones who actually care about how their brand looks. Look, if we're putting our name on it, it needs to be done right. We need SM Athletics.
SM Athletics?
Yeah, they specialize in working with businesses like ours. Apparel, hats, promo gear, but real, customized stuff. They actually care if it turns out right.
Probably a lot better than getting stuck with 100 t-shirts with crooked logos.
Exactly. Plus, they'll walk you through everything. Sizing, colors, material, so it matches the image we're trying to build.
Makes sense. What's the name again?
SM Athletics. Trust me, if you want to look like a real company, not a flea market stand, this is the move. If you're serious about your brand, work with people who are serious about getting it right. SM Athletics.
When it's past high noon, it's time for a vodka soda made with a vodka you've actually heard of. I'm talking White Claw vodka soda made with White Claw premium vodka. JB Smooth only drinks vodka soda made with the world's smoothest vodka.
And you can too. Pick you up a bottle of the triple wave filtered vodka that's been distilled 5 times. White Claw Premium Vodka comes in 4 flavors: black cherry, mango, pineapple, and just vodka. You haven't had vodka like this. No one has. White Claw Premium Vodka. Please drink responsibly.
Barley's has live music on weekends, general team trivia on Wednesday nights at 8 p.m., and now live sports trivia courtesy of the Knoxville Trivia Guys every Thursday night upstairs. The game starts at 7 p.m. and is free to play for everyone, so head on down to the Old City and show off your sports knowledge and win gift cards to Barley's. Use those gift cards to buy some delicious food and drinks, and you can take it all in with their wide selection of TVs and indoor projectors. Barley's Tap Room and Pizzeria.
It's The Chase right here on Fan Run Radio, Fox Sports Knoxville, 105.7 FM, 1340 AM, as we start hour number 2 right here with Anderson County head football coach Davey Gillum is on the line right now. Coach, how are things on your end?
Going well. Appreciate you having me.
Thank you for being here. We got the Daily Times' Caleb Giroux here joining us to pick your brain on the Mavericks and what should be another big-time year for your football program. What was spring like for you guys? Were you able to accomplish what you were looking to accomplish this spring?
It was a good spring. It was productive. We got a lot of new kids in. Lost a lot of kids from last year's season. We was going to come into this season starting 10 new positions on each side of the ball, and then in the midst of that, we've had a lot of transfers come in. So it was a productive, but it was a learning process. A lot of potential. We got a long way to go, but it is promising. I'll say that.
Hey, Davey, this is Caleb. I know you mentioned transfers there, and a guy almost everybody in the Knoxville area would know is Jason Thompson. Just what was it like getting him in out of Bearden, and what are you looking for out of him this season?
Well, it really just out of the blue. I know a lot of kids that were on that Bearden team, just tons of talent over there. And most of those guys that came in with Coach Jones a few years earlier. And when they let Coach Jones go, a lot of those kids left. And about all the kids that had came in with him that really probably wouldn't have been Bearden kids. And some landed with us, some landed with Maryville, some landed with Powell, and some landed with Alcoa. So, we're, as a coach, I'm proud that we're in that category where good players are trying to get to good programs when they can. But got him on the field, man. I don't know that I've ever, college or high school, worked with a kid more explosive than Jason Thompson. He is super twitchy. The scheme and things we're asking him to do is a little different what he's used to. So there's still a process, but sky's the limit for him. I took him and my son to Vanderbilt this weekend for a prospect day, and he went with the receivers instead of the running backs, and I thought he was hands down the best receiver on campus. He's a very special kid.
What was that like, getting the Vanderbilt offer there and watching your kid work on the big stage like that?
We do it a lot, just to be honest. It's kind of a lifestyle for me and JD. Outside of our Anderson County world. For the last couple of years, we've put a lot of time in just traveling, trying to get him in front of people, and he's probably more at home out there on the field, competing with college kids and in front of college coaches than he is, in the classroom. It's just something we've put a lot of work in over the years. He's put a lot of work in, and when a few years ago he started showing some abnormal promise, I was surprised how far he'd come along. So I was trying to do my part as a dad, just getting him in front of people so they could see what they thought of him, and he's done real well. But as a dad, it's nerve wracking. Anytime you got your kid out there competing and trying to see what other people think compared to what you think and that kind of thing. But he does well, but it's always nerve-wracking for me. But I enjoy the process as a dad. Just we travel a lot, and we're just this past year we started in January in Los Angeles, and going for 247 sports and rivals, and going to USC and UCLA, and we've been to Miami. We've been all over the place, just trying to compete with kids all over the country. So people from not just here locally know what he can do, but so people all across the country see where he stacks up. The lifestyle.
I mean, that's awesome. And I'm curious for you, now that we're getting closer and closer to summer camp battles here, what position battle is most intriguing to you that you're excited to watch play out over the next 2 months for your team?
We have so many receivers right now. We've never had this kind of depth at receiver. We've had some good teams and some really good receivers. In 22, when we won state title, we went really about 10 deep, and our starters were really good. We're probably deeper and better than we were then at those positions. And, Jason won't just play tailback for us. He'll play receiver slot. And, when we put him in the slot, he's different. When we put him out wide, he's different. So, probably the biggest task we've got as coaches, it ain't like that these kids are going to beat each other out because they're all good and can play. It's how are we going to package all these personnel groups together and not get so much in that we lose an identity and they can be good at it, because we got some good players on the perimeter right now.
Where are you maybe thinnest at the margins right now?
On offense, we're going to put together an O-line we're very, very thrilled about, but we're an injury or two away from. There's some big step off after our sixth, seventh guy right there. We're thin. Our linebacker core is good, but same way, we're not deep at all after that starting group. So those are things where we got some young guys that are coming along fast, but injuries would be the tail of the tape for us on that side.
I wanted to follow up on JD a little bit, Coach. Do you expect him to kind of be all starter under center when you get the year started? And how are you going to balance, head coach and dad duties with your son if he is the starting quarterback?
Yeah, he'll be the starter. There's no questions about it. And he's been going with us this month, and he'll do his part. He's not going to be a weak link or anything. We're not going to have to scale anything back. In fact, we're already putting more on him mentally than than probably we've ever put on a kid. So I've been a little bit impressed with him in that side. Some things, you know, the throwing, the running, the off-platform stuff, you know, that's one thing, but getting in the games and managing a unit and setting pass protections, adjusting pass protections, changing plays, and identifying, is it zero, is it man free, who's got the back, are the ends peeling off, is it a linebacker, is it free safety, and then making the proper check. That's a lot for anybody, especially a young kid. And he's doing all them things real well, so we're pleased with him as far as me balancing it. I'll be honest, I've been coaching him and for a while, but when I'm on the field, I don't even think about being dad. He you know, he'll get it just like everybody else, and in fact, he gets it worse. But I don't have any kind of issues trying to balance it. I'm going to do what's best for the Mavericks, whether that's in JD's personal best interest or not, you know, and those type of things. And I've done that. I've had nephews play, and my assistant head coach's kids play, and you know, we're trying to win ball games, you know. So if he can help us do that, then he'll get a shine. If he can't, then he may find himself on the sideline like somebody else, you know.
What portion of your schedule do you think your team's going to be tested the most in 2025?
You know, there's 3 games on that schedule are just tough. Coming out of the gate, like I said, we show a lot of promise this year, a lot of talent, but it is 10 new starters. So early on, you come right out of the gate playing Pal, very good football team. You know, really may have been Sevier County won it, but that Pal team was as good as anybody in 5A last year. And then you go right to Catholic. Catholic team's going to be really good. You know, bringing Chaz in is a big addition. Sitting opposite of Tyreek. They got athletes all over the place. They got a couple of linemen in from Webb Belt Buckle, a couple of Canadian kids. So they're a loaded team. You know, that don't mean they're going to knock out Baylor and McCallie, but you know, playing public school ball, that's going to be a really rough game. You know, we'll have a chance to get them, but execution, how quickly we can gel together, depend on how successful we can be against those two early. And then we're playing more of a normal schedule, normal 4A schedule until we get to that last game, and then finish with Alcoa, you know, the most storied program in Tennessee. So getting Alcoa in 4A is a big deal. You know, that puts everybody in 4A. Us and Greenville and E-Town have kind of been battling each other for the right to go fight for a state championship for a decade now, and you bring in Alcoa, that puts everybody on notice, you know. So we've all got to up our game to be able to have those same kind of aspirations. So that's a great team, great program, great coaching staff. So, you know, that's something we hope by week 10 we're hitting on all cylinders, and you know, they're in our region, so you got to beat them to win a region championship. But if you beat them, you know, you're good enough to win that state championship too. So that'll be a big one. It'll be a fun game.
How does that just obviously with Alcoa's title streak and everything else, like just how much more buzz has there been? I mean, obviously, like you said, Anderson County has been right there in the mix in 4A right there the last couple of years, and you're one of the premier programs not only in the region but in the classification altogether. With Alcoa there, I mean, it's got to be something where you look at it and you're just getting stopped and you're like, oh, Alcoa's coming. Like, how many people just in Anderson County are just like, man, Alcoa's here, and this is going to be a lot of fun. We don't know how it's going to go. It's going to be exciting.
Yeah. Well, it is. You know, not just Anderson County, but I'd say Anderson County, Greenville, Elizabeth, and Pearl Cone. All of us sit back and go, oh, here comes Alcoa.
Yep.
You know, that's different. And I'm not knocking 4A. I think 4A's probably been the thickest as far as trying to get to a state championship in the last few years. But, you know, if they went to 6A, I think there's going to be a lot of people say the same thing there. I mean, they're Alcoa. And again, most storied program in Tennessee history. And, you know, obviously Coach Rankin coming in and building it. But I do think Coach Nix and those guys have done a good job of not just holding it there, but maybe doing some things, take it to a higher level right now. So, you know, at the end of the day, we got comfortable with where our program was, and doing our part, we'd be able to fight for a state championship. And, you know, those things ain't easy. you're a play or two away. In the last 6 years, almost every year we're a play away from saying we should have won it all this year. And last year we're semifinals, last play 2-point conversion away from getting our second in 3 years. But I'm just saying we're kind of comfortable with what it takes to win at 4A. I don't think anybody's comfortable right now. We've got to up our game. We know that. So it's still exciting, though. We like those games like that challenge, but we know what's waiting ahead.
Final two for you real quick here, Davey. Knowing what you know now about how the 2024 season went for your team, what would you go back and tell yourself prior to week 1 of the 2024 season?
Man, that's a good question. Maybe that we should take 10 minutes every Monday and get ready for wing T. We haven't seen it in about 5 years. Never would have guessed that we would have seen it in the semifinals in Macon County,
Yeah.
And they were awesome at it, but, that's about it, I guess. I mean, we knew going into last year it was a similar situation, not as many new starters, but we had an influx of transfers, new quarterback. We knew we was going to have to be patient early, and it would take time to gel and be who we wanted to be at the end of the season. So we did that. We're able to play clean, win the big games early like Powell, and just by playing clean, not turning the ball over and penalties and wasted plays. And by the end of the year, we were who we thought we could be. So it's a similar year. You just you still got Powell right up front, and you got Catholic. But we got more variables this year. Like we talked about Jason, but Damian Lavelle is right there with him. He's a super talented kid coming in from Bearden as well. Keyshawn Mills, another super talented kid. Both of them are, G5 power forward corners that can run and play receiver. The big Charles Humphrey, big lineman, just transferred in. We got Eli Tolley transferred in. We got a lot more star power than we've ever had. It's just everything's new, system, verbiage, everything. So we got a lot of ground to cover. Only got a month to do it.
Y'all got to go ahead and get your tickets. If you're all the Anderson County fans, Alcoa fans, if you're not ready and fired up for Anderson County Alcoa, after talking to Davey here, I don't know what you're doing, but I'm excited. It's not high school football season just yet, but I'm fired up, Coach, to see this all play out. Final thing, we'll get you out on this front. It's not the only change, Alcoa moving up to Class 4A. The other big change was the new seating. Are you a fan of the new seating model coming into high school football this year?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I wish they'd done it a decade ago. It's, it's different states have done things like that for a while. You sometimes the parity in Tennessee can be skewed, and depending on what classification you're on, it could be different regions. But like in 4A for us, it's been us, Greenville, and Elizabethton for a decade, and the best quality of football game in 4A for 10 years now has been the second, third round. And, that's part of it, but it helps all of our, and whether it was us or Greenville, your semifinal game was not quite the same. And a lot of times even the championship game wasn't quite the same till here recently. So, for a program, whether it's us or Greenville, E-Town, whoever, when you can play those big games and have a chance to do it in the semifinals, instead of the second round or third round, it just helps everybody's program. It adds to the luster of the Friday nights. Less people are playing, and it's just a bigger game, bigger atmosphere, better for your program to get to do those type things. So, when you get locked into playing that same team round 2, round 3, it's I don't want to say it gets old because it was tough, but it's just nice to have the hope of, in 22, us playing a Greenville in the semifinals or something like that,
I love it. Davey Gillum, thank you so much for making the time, head football coach at Anderson County, for what should be another big-time season for the Mavericks. Thank you so much for making the time today right here on The Chase, and we'll check back in again closer to the start of the season.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me.
There you have it. Anderson County head football coach Davey Gillum. he's going to have a good program. A lot of stars and competing with Alcoa right there in Class 4A right here in Tennessee, right here in Knoxville. So excited to see all that play out this fall, but appreciate Davey Gillum for the time as we continue on here on The Chase. It's hour number 2 on a Monday. Fox Sports Knoxville, 105.7 AM 1340. Stick with us. Whole lot more Tennessee talk coming your way after this.
Believe in family. Believe in your fellow man. Believe in honesty and an honest day's work. We do. We're Farm Bureau Insurance. And we don't just believe in Tennessee. We believe in Tennesseans. Farm Bureau Insurance. Tennessee's insurance company.
This is Baseball VFL Cody Brown. Farm Bureau Insurance is the official insurance for Tennesseans. Believe in me for all of your insurance needs. Give me a call at 865-992-3871.
A brand built in Tennessee and born from the love of the game. Inward Half revolutionizes golfing comfort. Crafted by a former pro and dedicated enthusiast just like you, our luxury performance wear guarantees you stay cool and comfortable through every swing and every day. We're not just a brand. We've set out to create a lifestyle for those who understand that impeccable style and premium performance are a hole-in-one. Enjoy the walk-in with Inward Half.
Hey, Pack Rat. Yeah, you. Are you moving cross-country and you just don't know who to call? Call us right now. Listen, you've probably seen one of our containers in your neighborhood. But did you know that we can help you move anywhere in the United States? It's real simple. We'll drop a container off at the location you tell us to bring it to. You pack up your valuable possessions at your leisure. They stay safe right in your home. And when you're ready, call us. We'll come and pick up the container and give you a scheduled date of when your furniture and the other possessions will be at your new home. So if you're moving across country or across town, be a Pack Rat. Join the Pack Rat family. Call Pack Rat right now for your free quote. See y'all later, Pack Rats.
Call 800-965-1298. 800-965-1298. 800-965-1298. That's 800-965-1298.
Running a business, coaching a team, planning your next big event, you need more than just gear. You need SM Athletics and Logo Solutions. Custom uniforms, branded apparel, promotional products, done right, done fast, and built to show off your brand with pride. From local businesses to high schools to major universities, SM Athletics is trusted by winners. Get real service, get real quality, get noticed. SM Athletics and Logo Solutions, where your brand comes to life.
Visit smathletics.com and let's build something great together.
Running a business, coaching a team, planning your next big event, you need more than just gear. You need SM Athletics and Logo Solutions. Custom uniforms, brand...
White Claw is taking hard seltzer to new heights with White Claw Surge. At 8% alcohol, White Claw Surge is a stronger wave of refreshment that doesn't compromise on taste. Available in 4 bold waves of flavor like ripe blackberry, citrusy blood orange, zesty natural lime, and tart cranberry. Check out your favorite retailer in-store and online for the White Claw Surge Variety 12-pack and 16-ounce single-serve cans. White Claw Surge. Please drink responsibly.
It's Chase with Chase Thomas right here on Fan Run Radio, Fox Sports Knoxville, 105.7 FM, 1340 AM. You can also listen to us whenever, wherever on that free Fan Run Radio app. Hour 2 well underway. I hope you guys enjoyed our conversation with Anderson County head football coach David Gillum. A lot of great insight from him on the Mavericks ahead of their 2025 season. With Alcoa in their same region. So very excited to see how that all unfolds. So appreciate Davey jumping on with us as we continue our high school preps preview series here every week right here on The Chase. The Daily Times, Caleb Giroux, still in studio as he is every Monday right here on Fan Run Radio, Fox Sports Knoxville. As we continue on here, though, Caleb, in hour number 2, our preview series continues. Not at the preps are out now. We're moving over to the football side of things. We've previewed Mike Matthews going into year 2 for Tennessee. Talked about Caleb Beasley, Idris Farouk. Big year 2 for Braylon Staley here in the slot for Tennessee. Tennessee obviously losing Squirrel White and Chaz Nimrod this past cycle. Squirrel, who has been your long-term starter the last 2 years at Tennessee, the longest slot receiver at Tennessee, really, considering Jalen Hyatt was really, he kind of factored in a little bit as the fourth receiver in 2021, but it still was mostly not really any rotation when you had Velas and Cedric Tillman and Javonte Payton. He obviously became a Plotnikoff winner in 2022, and the rest is history. That being said, what's interesting to me about how Heupel and Kelsey Pope and the staff have evaluated and brought in different receivers, whether it's by the portal or at the high school ranks, every slot guy is different. We've learned is like there's not one consistent. I think we thought when Jalen Hyatt broke out, like that was the blueprint, right? Okay, burner in the slot. Defenses are just never going to have an answer in Heupel's scheme when you have a slot guy who can just dust folks and dust Alabama 4-star, 5-star safeties with ease. However, they have not replaced Jalen Hyatt, and not because they haven't had talented guys. It's just different. Like Velas Jones went into the NFL as a running back, and he was a slot guy for Tennessee, and he was a bowling ball. He was really great in pre-snap motion and just could do all kinds of different things for Tennessee. And then you go to Jalen Hyatt, just a straight burner, Blitnikoff winner, fantastic, 5 TDs against Alabama. You know the story there. And then you have Squirrel White, undersized slot guy, 3-star kid out of Alabama. Not the kind of speedster you had with Hyatt. Obviously not the same build that you had with Velas Jones. And he just could not stay healthy last year. His 2023 year was really good. I mean, Squirrel had the catch of the year in 2023 against South Carolina.
That was one of the biggest ball don't lie moments I've ever seen, because that was the most obvious pass interference. They didn't call it, but he still came down with it.
It was fantastic. I was in the building for that one. It erupted. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
In the dark mode unis, but Squirrel had a great 23. 24 was just injuries, and it just never worked for Squirrel in his last year at Tennessee. But again, a very different build, different kind of player than Jalen and Velas. Well, year 4, or I guess the 4th slot receiver who were expected to start here for the Vols in the Heupel era, is very different. Braylon Staley is, I don't think, a comp to any of those guys we've seen thus far. A super, super talented guy in terms of where things are going in terms of that receiver room, but he's a super talented guy, and my question is he going to be better than Squirrel White the last 2 years? And I think, can he be better than Squirrel last year? Absolutely. I mean, availability is just a big part of Braylon Staley. He was thrust into action against Ohio State in the CFP, where he got 50 snaps as a redshirt because Tennessee was so banged up and lost a lot of guys to the portal as well. So he got a taste of big-time college football in January in Columbus. But super talented guy, super interesting guy. I don't know what to expect out of him, because we're all looking at Mike on the outside, and we're all looking at Chris Brazzell in year 2 and hoping for a Dante Thornton-type jump his second year in the system as the only upperclassman in that room. Caleb, I ask you, though, what are your expectations for Braylon Staley in year 2, and do you think he is the next kind of interesting big play slot guy that Tennessee has been missing since Jalen Hyatt moved on?
Yeah, I think if you want this offense to return to what it has been, you definitely need Braylon Staley to be good in that slot position. A big thing for me, too, that has made it tough, especially on Squirrel White last year, is just not having receivers around him to kind of take some of that pressure off. Because you think about Jalen Hyatt, he was able to succeed. Obviously, he was a burner, but a lot of it, too, was every other receiver was a threat on the field. So you can't focus in on the slot guy. I felt like Squirrel wasn't able to escape the same way Jalen Hyatt was, just because there was eyes on him, because there didn't have to be eyes other places. And I also think you mix in, Squirrel White was a really undersized guy, which I think teams figured out pretty quickly they could body him. And also just he spent most of the year hurt, and then also just was not the consistent guy he was with the hands. And some of the scheming with Squirrel White, too, also kind of was aggravating. You think about, for me, some of those screen passes that they would throw out to Squirrel White didn't make much sense to me, because you had receivers who were bigger and could take a hit. It felt like to me Squirrel White went down with the first hit. So I think Braylon Staley at 6'1", 190 already has more going there. He's been in the system now for a while, and he's gotten his body to where they want him playing wise. And I think he'll be a guy that can make a pretty big impact in the slot. I don't think he'll be a burner like Jalen Hyatt maybe, but I think he could be maybe a more well-rounded slot receiver that, could take some hits out of Augusta, Georgia. Shout out to your home state and to your Masters
he's
hat.
South Carolina guy. He's on the border, but yeah.
Born in Augusta, Georgia,
Okay.
I should say. But yeah, you're right. He lists his hometown as Aiken, and he went to Strom Thurmond High School. So, Southern guy, played good high school football. I would pick him to be a breakout guy. I think he can be really good this season, and I think if Tennessee wants to, have a good year on offense, he needs to be good. And you mix in new quarterbacks. Having consistent wide receiver options makes it a lot easier on those new guys under center as well.
Yeah, I also kind of, the squirrel part of it, I mean, those screens they were DOA last year.
Yeah.
And it was he fell down very quickly. He would also leave his feet way too much for Tennessee last year. And it was just, obviously he was banged up. And, you don't need to do that. You didn't need to leave your feet there. He also just has a small catch radius. He's just not a very long arm.
And I think that made it worse on Nico Imaliava in his first season of the starters because – when Hendon was there, obviously I've talked about this before, Hendon would throw guys open and really read defenses, but also Hendon had big guys to hit. So he didn't feel like if he missed a little bit left or right that the ball would not be caught. And there's also the mental component of even if I do hit Squirrel or the receivers that played last year in the chest, they haven't been consistent with catching those balls anyway. So I think you're right. The small target is also something that played into it. I mean, 5'10", 170. So he's going down with the first hit, smaller guy. I think Braylon Staley, 6'1", 190, is more of your SEC stereotypical slot receiver. I mean, guys have played smaller and found success, but I think Braylon at that size and being your main guy in the slot helps a lot.
I'm excited about Braylon, but I also am just excited about slot in general because if you can live with, my goal is 80% Braylon, 20% Boo. That's where I want to live. I think Boo has to be in a lot of key red zone opportunities for Tennessee next year. Boo and Mike Matthews need to be on the field together as much as humanly possible. They are your two twitchiest players on this roster. I think they're your best yak guys potentially. Braylon, I'm very curious what his straight line speed looks like in games. Because I think a lot of people think about him over the middle and what kind of damage he can do on some mesh concepts. I'm curious what his speed looks like over the top and how much he can take the top off opposing defenses. Because when you read Gabe Brooks of 247 Sports, his high school player profile for Staley, I thought it'd be interesting to revisit here. He said, quote, lean and athletic build with a nice size catch radius that combines with consistent hands catching acumen to expand the catch window. Big play athleticism that shows in the vertical passing game. Very important for Tennessee in the slot. And as a contested catch weapon. Two great things you want to hear if you're a Tennessee fan going into next year. He excels as a high-pointing target and in back shoulder opportunities thanks to athleticism, timing, and body control / adjustment ability. He mines the boundary and regularly gets a foot in when it's not easy to do. These are all great things. I am very, very excited about this as I read through this. Accelerates quickly and plays with above-average top-end speed. Very important in the slot, especially when allowed a runway. He was a strong multi-sport guy in South Carolina 4A, but one of the other things he mentions here in his profile, can more consistently create late separation, more explosive in linear situations than lateral situations, and shows some redirecting gear down. Talented perimeter weapon who adds a big play option to a receiver room. That is what Tennessee has missed so much in the receiver room is big play options at receiver. They did not have it last year, and it was obvious. And it was a huge problem. It's why you had a bunch of turnover in that room. Braylon Staley and Mike Matthews are two big-time talents, and if you're able to get Boo on the field, and Chris Brazzell, even if he's not Dante Thornton next year for you, if he just makes some kind of important year two, just beat Ramel Keaton in 2022, excuse me. Beat Ramel Keaton in 22. That's fine, too. You don't need him to be a star. You just need Chris Brazzell to be able to give you 50-plus snaps and reliable, take the top off a couple times a game. If you can live with Chris Brazzell, 3 catches for 54 yards more often than not, I'm a happy camper on the Brazzell front. Staley is just super interesting to me because Tennessee is a scary potential passing offense if they're able to just rotate Boo and Braylon into that spot where, man, those are really, really twitchy guys who scare opposing defenses. And if you're constantly lining up with Mike and Braylon and Boo and they're able to stay healthy, that's how Tennessee makes the leap in this passing game. Whether it's Joey Aguilar or Jake Merklinger or even George McIntyre, they need this room to stay healthy, and they need this room to pop. And I think Braylon Staley has a lot more upside than Squirrel, and I think he maybe it has that kind of Velus Jones type upside to me, where he's just going to be used in different kind of ways. And I think Braylon Staley might be some over the middle, might be some deep. I think he's the most versatile receiver Tennessee's had in the slot since Velus. Obviously not the same size, with Velus being kind of a wrecking ball for Tennessee. But I think Braylon Staley has a lot of that kind of unique skill set where he's going to be able to do a lot of different stuff for Kelsey Pope in that room. And he's got that opportunity. Tennessee did not go out and bring in some big-time transfers to compete with these guys, and it's time for Braylon Staley and Mike Matthews to prove Kelsey Pope and Josh Heupel are right. Right, Caleb?
Yeah, you mentioned staying healthy. If they aren't healthy, then I have no idea. Once again, I've made the joke before, but I mean, you'll have to pull some people from the stands to play wide receiver if these guys aren't healthy. But no, you're right. I think what is most exciting is that Gabe Brooks' scouting profile you read was from June 2023. So we're 2 years later from that, and he's got over a year under his belt now. Braylon Staley does, of being in a college weight room and a college strength and conditioning program. So I mean, you have to have these guys break out if you want to find success. But I think Braylon Staley is a very versatile guy who would impact probably all three levels of your passing game, and I think he's somebody who can break out, Chase. And truthfully, you need him to, because it takes stress off of whoever's at quarterback if you have a star at receiver, and there's really no excuse for him to not know the offense at this point. So there shouldn't be much of a youth excuse when he's on the field, because you've been in it a year and a half now under several different quarterbacks in practice, and you've played some game snaps. I mean, you played the college football playoff, so any big game jitters should be well on their way. And I think he has to break out, and I think he definitely has the possibility to.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really fascinating. But if you're forecasting where Tennessee makes the leap, so much is on replacing Dylan Sampson. For me, it's just the receivers have to make the secondary jump that you saw last year, where Tennessee did not go out and hammer the portal to replace Wesley Walker and Jalen McCullough and Tamarion McDonald and Kamal Haddon and Gabe Judy-Lawley. They bet on their in-house guys, with obviously the biggest name being Dramad, but Dramad was still kind of an unknown. Like, he started a lot the back half of his freshman year at Oregon State, but still kind of an unknown. It was productive, but you had no idea you're getting a potential first-round pick when you got Dramad to campus. And Willie and Tim Banks deserve all the credit in the world for how they developed him in year one. But you bet on Ricky Gibson, you bet on Boo Carter, you bet on Andre Turrentine, and you bet on Will Brooks. And you were fantastic, your best year secondary-wise to this point. So I think that's what you need this year. You need a Dramad, Ricky Gibson breakout at wide receiver, who I think were still the best cornerback tandem this century for Tennessee. You need that on offense. You need to be rewarded for retaining your blue-chip players that you invested in a big way in that class. And I think they have the talent to do it. They just have to put it together. It's a big, big year for them, because Joey Aguilar and or Jake Merklinger are going to need those safety nets to break out. They are going to need Mike Matthews, Braylon Staley, Boo Carter, Chris Brazzell to both remain healthy and also break out. I mean, that's the other part where you haven't had health luck at receiver yet in the last couple of years, because 2021 you were able to live with just Javonte and Velus Jones and Cedric Tillman stay healthy all year. But in 22, you lost Cedric Tillman early to tightrope ankle surgery, and he wasn't the same after that Akron game. You lost Brew McCoy to a devastating injury in 2023, and then in 2024, Squirrel White wasn't able to stay healthy. So the injury bug has hit the receiver room the last 3 years, and they're going freshman if it hits them again this year, because 4 of the 7 guys in that room this year will be freshmen. So we'll see how it all plays out, but a whole lot more Tennessee talk coming your way. SEC college football quarterback conversations. We'll jump into that as we continue on here in hour number 2 with the Daily Times. Caleb Giroux, stick with us. It's Fan Run Radio, Fox Sports Knoxville, 105.7 FM, 1340 AM. Download that free Fan Run Radio app and listen wherever, whenever. We'll be right back after this.
Hey Knoxville! Surfside iced tea and vodka, made with real brewed tea, is only 100 calories, 2 grams of sugar, with no bubbles and no troubles. That's right, zero carbonation, so it's easy to sip and enjoy. Headed to a game day or party at a friend's house? Bring an iced tea or lemonade variety pack from Surfside, or try their green tea and new raspberry tea vodka. Find the can with the sunset stripes this season. Surfside iced tea and vodka, sold at bars, restaurants, and stores near you. Surfside iced tea and vodka, sunshine in a can. Must be 21 or older. Enjoy responsibly.
Rickard Ridge Barbecue, located in beautiful Cove Lake State Park. Rickard Ridge is home of the best ribs in the volunteer state. Smoked daily by pitmaster Mark Rickard. The barbecue at Rickard Ridge is mouth-watering, fall-off-the-bone delicious. Take the scenic drive up I-75 to exit 134. For directions and to look at the rest of the menu, visit Rickard Ridge online at rickardridgebbq.com.
A brand built in Tennessee and born from the love of the game. Inward Half revolutionizes golfing comfort. Crafted by a former pro and dedicated enthusiast just like you, our luxury performance wear guarantees you stay cool and comfortable through every swing and every day. We're not just a brand. We've set out to create a lifestyle for those who understand that impeccable style and premium performance are a hole-in-one. Enjoy the walk-in with Inward Half.
Located in Knoxville's historic Old City, Barley's offers great food, live music, the best draft beer selection in town, and now your new favorite place to watch sports. Their indoor projector is perfect for any weather, and they've revamped their upstairs area with more TVs to take in all of the action. Their menu features hand-battered chicken tenders, juicy burgers, fresh salads, and the tastiest pizza in Knoxville. You can enjoy their happy hour drink specials daily from open until 6 p.m. Barley's Tap Room and Pizzeria.
Is your smile ready for the spotlight? Hi, I'm Dr. Jacob Wilco, and at Knoxville Smiles, we make every visit a reason to smile. From routine cleanings to dazzling cosmetic treatments, our experienced team uses the latest technology to keep your teeth healthy and your smile bright. With a warm, welcoming atmosphere and personalized care, we're here to make sure you leave feeling your best. Don't wait. Your perfect smile is just a call away. Book your appointment today at 865-539-1776 or online at knoxvillesmiles.com. Smile brighter with Knoxville Smiles.
Planning for spring at Lowe's means big savings on outdoor power equipment, and Lowe's knows nothing feels better than free. Buy one select Ego string trimmer, leaf blower, or mower kit. Get one select 56-volt battery free. That's up to a $299 value. Power through spring with Ego, the #1 rated brand in cordless outdoor power. Because Lowe's knows home improvement. Valid through 4/3 while supplies last. Selection varies by location.
Chase right here on Fan Run Radio, Fox Sports Knoxville. Wrapping up hour number 2 on a Monday with the Daily Times' Caleb Giroux. Make sure you're locked in right here, 1 to 3, Monday through Friday, as we start off week number 4 here in East Tennessee. 105.7 FM, 1340 AM every single day. And you can also always listen to us on that free Fan Run Radio app as well. Caleb, final thing as we wrap up on a Monday, my friend. Let's talk this Saturday Down South piece by Adam Spencer, and he did a deep dive into the underrated, overrated, or properly rated quarterbacks in the SEC going into 2025. When you look at his list, who he has in the overrated camp, he has Arch, Marcel. I don't know how you have Arch and overrated before he's even started. Arch, Marcel, DJ Lagway, Zach Calzada. I don't know who's overrating Zach Calzada. Properly rated, Lenora Sellers, Garrett Nussmeier, Diego Pavia, Bo Pribula, Austin Simmons, Joey Aguilar, and then in his underrated camp, he has Jackson Arnold, John Mateer, Taylon Green, Blake Shapen, Gunnar Stockton, Ty Simpson. So when you go through that, what stands out to you, Caleb?
I'll just go top to bottom. Overrated, I'm not sure DJ Lagway is overrated. You know, I think he's has the chance to be one of the best quarterbacks in the SEC this season. Coming off an injury too, so you always have to talk about the injury. But you also mentioned Zach Calzada. I haven't heard a single thing about him this offseason.
Yeah.
So I don't know how he would be overrated, and I'm not sure how you. I mean, Kentucky just had a college quarterback retire.
Yes.
And you're going to tell me Zach Calzada is overrated?
I mean, Vince Morrow out the door to the rival. Like,
yeah,
it just
it's not good.
It's all bad. Like Barian Brown gone, Dane Keek gone.
It's really funny that. I mean, obviously Brock Vandegrift probably had his own reasoning, but like. You had a college guy who had eligibility just quit. That's what Kentucky made him do. So I don't know how you can overrate a Kentucky quarterback, especially considering, even in their offense under Stoops, they're throwing the ball, 9 to 15 times maybe. Like it's not it's not good football. I think he's probably going to be in the bottom half of the SEC. I don't know how he's overrated. Arch is another good one, too. I think probably just the last name. When you look at, he mentions that he's plus 700 odds to win the Heisman. That's probably overrating a guy who's never started before. But still, I don't know. I think DJ Lagway is a questionable one. Marcel Reed, we'll see what he turns out to be. Properly rated, Chase, let's see. I would say this list is probably all right. Throwing Joey Aguilar in there instead of any other quarterback on Tennessee's roster is interesting. Crowning him. I guess properly rated would be he doesn't have much expectation, from the Tennessee standpoint. And everybody else, Diego Pavia, all of the guys in the properly rated thing, I'd say, Chase, you kind of know what you're going to get. You've seen enough. Garrett Nussmeier, Lenore Sellers, Diego Pavia. Austin Simmons is not a guy I've heard a lot about this offseason either, but he put him in the properly rated. And then underrated, Ty Simpson is one that I am interested about because nobody seems very confident in Ty Simpson down in Alabama. So that's one I think underrated is questionable there because you don't know what you're going to get. Gunnar Stockton, I don't know if I'd call him underrated either because, again, you don't know what you're going to get. So maybe these guys pop and this guy's right that they're underrated, but I'd say Ty Simpson's a guy that doesn't have a lot of expectations and for good reason probably at Alabama.
Yeah, I will say I'm extremely bullish on Ty Simpson in Alabama. I think he is walking into probably the best situation of any SEC quarterback in 2025. I think he is obviously a big-time 5-star prospect who's waited his time. Suck it out, going from Nick Saban to Kalen DeBoer. Ryan Grubb back reuniting with his old longtime coach and Kalen DeBoer. I think that's important after a cup of coffee with the Seahawks last year. Ty Simpson, I think, is the one who is the breakout to me. And I've said this summer, it pains me. I am sorry, Vol Nation, that I am a ardent believer in both Alabama and Florida in 2025. I don't want that to be the case. But unfortunately, that's where I'm at. I think DJ Lagway's for real. He was 6-1 as a starter last year. I just look at it. His only loss, he was winning in the world's largest outdoor cocktail party against the Bulldogs in Jacksonville. When he left in the second quarter, they were winning that football game. So who knows if they still hold on or what have you, but you saw the difference when they lost to Texas the next week without DJ Lagway. So I think Lagway is absolutely for real. He had that bomb in that Georgia game too. He is a cannon, and I just think with Dallas Wilson at receiver, I think they're stocked there. I think they're great at tackle. They're great in the trenches. They're going to be really deep on the edge. They're going to be really deep at tackle. I think Florida is just going to be a really good team. Their schedule just prevents them from being a favorite of being a 9-3, 10-2 type team. But I do think that's their upside with the normal schedule. In terms of Simpson, though, I just think he's a super talented guy, and I think he's more of what Kalen DeBoer wants at quarterback right now. What made Michael Penix so good was he was just such a great point guard and could make big-time throws and sit in the pocket and be comfortable throwing to 3 NFL receivers in a Dunze and company and Polk and all those guys. Guess what? Alabama might have the best receiver trio in the SEC this year with Ryan Williams, Jeremy Bernard, and Isaiah Horton. That is going to be a really, really tough 3-man group to account for across the SEC. I think their offensive line will be better. It's a big year for Caden Proctor in year 3 at left tackle, but I'm a big believer in Ty Simpson being the breakout guy, and I think him and Lagway are both in a really great spot to have breakout seasons for their respective schools. I think for this list, the one that just kind of I 100% agree with is Marcel Reed at A&M, where I think he was kind of overrated. They struggled. I think he lost 4 of his last 5 starts down the stretch for A&M. Got off to a great start, obviously, but there was back and forth. It wasn't like Marcel Reed just took that job and it was just his job. He's okay. He was a true freshman thrown into the fire because Connor Wegman couldn't stay healthy and then struggled too. But I don't know. I haven't seen enough from him to believe that even with Casey Concepcion coming in and the talent they have there and Elko continuing to recruit at a high level, I don't know. That's a TBD for me. That I just think he's kind of limited in terms of his upside at A&M. So I would agree there. The one that I think underrated to me is wild is Jackson Arnold. Jackson Arnold was just bad last year at Oklahoma, and we saw it firsthand with Tennessee in Norman. And obviously him getting benched in that game, and it was just an up and down year. You can make the case Granted, the situation stunk. Like his offensive line was terrible. All his receivers got hurt. That's all true.
He was getting chanted off the field when they were playing Tennessee.
Yeah, it was bad.
Like yeah.
The game the biggest one of the year for him was against Alabama, obviously, in Norman. Do y'all remember the stats for Jackson Arnold in that win against Alabama? Off the top of your head, did it feel like a Jackson Arnold special?
It was a bad game because I know Oklahoma's defense had a masterclass. I think we talked about it last week. He did not play well that game.
24-3, they won that game. He was 9 of 11 for 68 yards. Like, Jackson Arnold has shown nothing at the FBS level that he's ready for primetime. Underrated for him is wild.
And you mentioned the situation, too. It's not like Auburn's a better situation
no.
At this
point.
A
lot more pressure,
Hugh Freeze
too.
is on the hot seat.
Yep.
And he has, Auburn has kind of just been in a cycle of losing, and I don't think Oklahoma's situation was good. I agree with you. I don't think Auburn's situation's any better. Probably the same, honestly.
The one thing is Kevin Coleman, and that's about it.
Wait, say it again?
No, Coleman, the wide receiver.
Oh, yeah, Cam Coleman.
Kevin Coleman's a Mississippi State guy, right?
Yeah. Yes, and now at Missouri.
Yeah.
Right? I think he went to Missouri from Mississippi State, if I remember correctly. Kevin Coleman, yes. Everyone moves around so much. It's hard to keep it all straight in college football these days. But I will say on the Jackson Arnold front, too, with Auburn, the way Hugh Freeze gets around this, he needs to follow the Billy Napier playbook, where Jackson Arnold just needs to hold it warm, Graham Mertz style, for as long as possible, keep him competitive against maybe the toughest schedule in FBS next year. Or that's Oklahoma. Like, Auburn's still a really tough schedule as well. But I look at Deuce Knight, big-time 4-star, borderline 5-star quarterback, true freshman, a lot of height. That was a big recruiting win for Hugh Freeze and his staff. You want to get to the point where Deuce Knight is able to go in the second half of the year, because I don't think Auburn is going to be a team that makes the CFP year, breaks out 9-3, 10-2. What you need is hope. And DJ Lagway giving Billy Napier and Florida fans hope took the hot seat off of him, where it's like, no, we got Lagway, and we're going to ride this out. Billy Napier can breathe now because he has his franchise quarterback. The same could be true at Auburn on the Plains this year if Deuce Knight gets an opportunity and he shines a little bit. Like maybe he beats Alabama at home in an upset or something like that. Or maybe he comes in against Georgia. And remember, Auburn gave Georgia, you know what, in the Plains 2 years ago. Without Brock Bowers going Superman mode in the second half, Auburn upsets Georgia in 2023. So that's something to remember with the Dogs coming to Auburn here in this fall. But yeah, I don't know. Underrated for Jackson Arnold just doesn't sit right with me, where I'm like, we've seen enough. He's very much properly rated, which is, I think he's going to be one of the worst quarterbacks in the SEC this year. The one I will throw out, though, who I do think is underrated, it's just his talent around him sucks, is Blake Shapen. Blake Shapen has been in college football forever. 8 TDs, 1 pick last year. He played really well against Arizona State before and against Florida, too. He got lost to injury last year, obviously, out for the year. He has not been able to stay healthy his last 2 years. He was really good on Baylor. Like, he won the Big 12 the year that Baylor kept out Oklahoma State at the CFP, where Oklahoma State was loaded that year. And I don't know if y'all remember that play at the pylon where they were a yard away from Oklahoma State getting over the pylon, scoring, and going to the CFP. He stops them instead. So it was a huge win. But Blake Shapen has shown, when he's able to stay healthy, is a really good college quarterback. I just wonder how much talent he's going to be able to have. I think the running game is going to be really good. There's going to be a good two-man punch there at Mississippi State this year. Jeff Levy, a good offensive mind. Shapen's the one who I would probably throw in there where I think he's a great underrated call, because it would not surprise me if he puts up stats that are, if he's able to stay healthy, he's somewhere in the top half of the SEC among quarterback play.
Yeah, I want to go back to your Ty Simpson thing. He's for those who don't know, guy out of Westview High School. His dad's the head coach at UT Martin, was an in-state guy from West Tennessee. In-state Tennessee guy from West Tennessee. I don't want to throw him. I think from everything you said, I agree. I think Lagway should go to properly rated because I think he has high expectations because he flashed and he basically saved Napier's job, and I think he's going to have a good year. And I think you should move Ty Simpson to properly rated as well, because the only argument against Ty Simpson right now, you can be bullish on him. He's sat for 3 years. He hasn't played meaningful snaps of college football. So I don't think you can call him underrated. He has nothing to show for, and the expectations aren't there. So I wouldn't say that's underrated. I would say that's a fair thing to say for a guy who hasn't played and who Alabama kind of shopped around in the portal a little bit to look for other options and then ended up sticking with Ty Simpson in the end. So I think it'll be curious to see what he turns out to be, because he's been there a while, like you said, waited his turn. But even in mop-up duty, he has not thrown very much. I mean, he's got 50 passes to his name over 3 years. So, that'll be a curious one, and I wouldn't call him underrated just because I don't think there's expectations there because he hasn't played.
Yeah, it's interesting too. I was talking to Matt about this in the pod yesterday. This is the most uncertain quarterback has been in the SEC in a long time, right? When you look at the top, like Lenore Sellers and Garrett Nussmeier, I mean, I think you feel pretty good. Like Lenore Sellers popped a little bit last year. Garrett Nussmeier was solid last year, but not a lot of juice. I mean, last year you were coming in Quinn Ewers, Carson Beck, and like a lot of.
You had Nico last year in that conversation too. Diego Pavia was in his first year.
Yeah.
And then you realize, I mean.
Brady Cook was back, and remember, Brady Cook was a big deal to come back. Like, there's just not
there was Brock Vandergriff conversation that he could revive Kentucky last year, if I remember correctly, over the summer.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
And that didn't turn out to be anything either. I agree with you. I mean,
I think it's
kind of.
Jackson Dart, too, we should throw out. Like, that's another big name.
Yep.
I think it's a problem around the country, too.
Michael Van Buren was at Mississippi State. Came in as a highly rated freshman. It is a problem around the country, and it beckons back to a couple years ago when Jalen Daniels won the Heisman at LSU. It was like, yeah, he's a deserving Heisman, but that wasn't really like, oh man, we feel really good about this pick. It just always felt like over the past few years there hasn't really been breakout players and stars that kind of rise above the rest. And you're right, coming into this season, quarterback around the league is very questionable, and honestly, it might end up being bad football if people don't show out, because truthfully, you look at, Lenore Sellers will give you good games, and Garrett Nussmeier is going to sling the ball around the field. But like we've talked about DJ Lagway, he still has injury concerns. Will he be healthy? Will he be up to 100% mentally and physically when the season comes around? We don't know. Tennessee doesn't have a quarterback option. Kentucky's rolling out a new guy in an offense that really isn't good for quarterbacks. Diego Pavia was a better runner than a passer. So are they going to go back to the option, or will he throw the ball more? Like, you're right. The quarterback's a question around the league, and there's not very many confident. There's a lot of guys with no expectations coming into this year, and I think, for places like Auburn where head coaches are on the hot seat, or even Kentucky, really, it could get dicey pretty quickly.
Yeah, and I think, too, one of the more interesting things when you look around this conference, I mean, it's so crazy how quickly everything can change. I mean, Carson Beck, preseason #1 overall pick, now he's at Miami, season from you-know-what. A&M, you felt really good. Every A&M fan felt great about 5-star Connor Wegman going into last year and what he was going to be. Now Marcel Reed took it over, and that's now QB1 there. You look at Pavia, where I think he had obviously a great year for Diego Pavia. The problem with Diego Pavia is not even a Diego Pavia problem. It's his carries. I don't know if you've looked at the amount of carries that Diego had last year in SEC play. There's a reason that Vanderbilt, I think, lost, 4 of their last 5? They won their bowl game against Tech, but then before that they lost, I think, 4 of their last 5. And part of that was, you look at the carry count and you look at what Tennessee did. They put Diego in a blender from the second quarter on, but the dude cannot withstand. No quarterback, no matter how big and how tough, and Diego Pavia is a tough, great quarterback, my guy, you cannot run at that clip and be able to stay healthy over the course of a full calendar year. So, I think Diego, you look at that first game against Virginia Tech where he had 20-plus carries in that one. You're like, awesome, great moment. That cannot be the standard to survive and win football games over the course of a full SEC schedule. So we'll see how he's able to do it coming off last year. But, the carries can't continue. I just don't think.
He barely made it through that Tennessee game.
Yes. It's just, he's a tough dude. You give him all the credit, but that's not sustainable in the SEC. And week in, week out, you can't be averaging 15 to 20 carries as a quarterback and expect to make it through the gauntlet of an SEC schedule. So we'll see how it all plays out, but that'll put a bow on this edition of The Chase right here on Fox Sports Knoxville Fan Run Radio. Thank you to the Daily Times' Caleb Giroux here on a Monday. Thank you to producer Jay King. Thank you to producer Matt Bailey. Appreciate everyone tuning in to The Chase right here, 1 to 3, Monday through Friday, right here on Fan Run Radio, Fox Sports Knoxville. The Drive with Russell Smith and the Bear coming up next. Y'all come back now.
Citizens National Bank, want a bank that lets you bank when and where you want to. Your local branch, the grocery store, your computer, your phone, it's up to you. You want people who care about taking care of you and your money too. Citizens National Bank. Banking never felt so good.
Ready to launch your career? Axel Logistics is a leading third-party logistics company